Good afternoon, everyone. I think Facebook is a little bit on catch-up, which is great. We are Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a portfolio business on your terms. And we always bring you some fun topics to actually talk through and kind of get some education from people that know what they're talking about. So my name is Helena.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are definitely live. I've checked. You've probably checked. So all is well. And we are with the wonderful Tracey, who will introduce to you in a moment. But first...
Yeah, so many of you know that you join us every Tuesday live at 1 o'clock. And as some of you, we've got a worldwide audience. So please, in the comments as you're watching, give us a wave. Tell us where you're watching from so we can put some names to the numbers that we see on the screen watching. And, you know, every Tuesday we either do a live training on this, on a topic that you've asked for. And I know some people were commenting today saying, is this recorded? This is going to be the pinned post for the whole week. It will go in our guide section. So you haven't missed it if you're going to watch it on the catch up. I think people like that were asking. So, and then every other week we do a clarity and connection session where we run networking, which Tracey is also a whiz at as well. So we're going to cover a lot today because this is talking about getting the best results from expos and trade shows, which is the world that started to open up since everything's been in lockdown. So we wanted to do this earlier. Then we realized the industry sort of shut down. Now it's opened back up again. It's a perfect time to get Tracey to give her expert advice because she's been running these areas for many years. And I've had direct experience of working with them, and they're just amazing. So she was our go-to person.
Yeah, it's really good. So we've had a couple of goes. So I'm going to say good morning to Suzanne, because Suzanne, it's great to have you here and in the Connection Hub, which is absolutely brilliant. And no, Kelly hasn't actually bought a giant microphone. She's had it for a long time, but she's obviously placed it that close to her camera that it is looking gigantic.
It's a normal Yeti, guys, you know, just emphasizing the largeness, which is always a good thing.
And on that note, I'm simply going to say, hey, everyone who's listening, and this goes for you if you're on the hashtag replay as well. We really want to know, what is the buzz in your business? What's exciting? What's inspiring? What are you doing? What are you up to? What have you got coming up? What have you just won? We don't know what it is. Let us know. Here comes the jingle.
So we will kick you off while you're getting your brains thinking, and you're going to type into the comments, and we'll come to Tracey as well to find out what her buzz is. But the buzz in our businesses is it's oh my God, it's nearly the end of November. I can't believe
Don't say it, don't say it.
Time is flying.
Next week in Change Makers always are training week. Businesses is oh, hang on a minute.
Don't worry, that was me. I'm just playing with the controls.
So in our membership Changemaker Essential, we always have a training week to kick you off the first week of the month. And next week we've got some amazing stuff. We've got Rachel Tapling, who's doing a deep dive in how to get PR, which I know is something which a lot of people are going, okay, so let's kick the business off with some promo around your business, and how do you get started with that. And then we've also got Charlie Wyman, who's actually running a B2B networking clinic on how to use corporate lunches to actually start prospecting. So if you're in the B2B world, then, we'll put the link in the comments if you want to join Changemaker before that kicks off. It's always an in-depth training week along with our business boost days and all the other things that we've got coming in there. And I know we've got some Changemakers watching at the moment. So we got some juicy stuff for you. But Tracey, what's the buzz in your business, in your world?
Well, I think, the fact that we can just go back out networking face-to-face again is just, oh my God, it's just the best thing, because being in lockdown for so long, I mean, it couldn't have happened. Like nobody predicted it, did they?
No,
it was just pretty horrific, especially when you're a people's person like me, hosting parties every week, as I would say. But it's just great to be back out again, connecting people together, getting them to getting them to do business. And obviously we've got our expo coming up next March. So loads of exciting things happening. And, it's just great to get people connected again.
It is. I think people are feeling the love, feeling the energy of like, oh my God, you're 3D, not 2D. This is amazing.
Yeah, and it's really funny actually, because when we started doing the face-to-face, and we've done so many of them online, obviously we pivoted and went online last year. When people are meeting face-to-face, they're going, oh, you're taller than I thought, when you sat at home. Yeah, and it's like, you're shorter than I thought, when you meet people face-to-face, it's fabulous. And we did, we launched Introbiz in London back in October. And we're now going to be doing events in London going forward, January, February onwards.
Nice.
I saw the venue of the last one that you did last month. It looks such a cool venue. I loved it.
And like me, I don't like to do the really corporate-y stuff. I like to find quirky places, because I always believe that when you're in a networking scenario, it's create that experience for people, create a really nice environment, not a stuffy, too formal. I'd rather do a bit more relaxed. And that's, once people are relaxed, they do business, and I think that's better doing it that way. So I always like to look for quirky places,
We love that. So let's go into it, because I know, Tracey, I've known you for nearly over a decade probably now. And I first found out about you when you were running the live expos, which is in your hometown, right? and Introbiz has been expanding into what you do over the last decade. So tell us a little bit how you got into doing Introbiz and what Introbiz is about. Tell us all about the services and offers that you have.
Yeah, sure. Well, the funny thing is, I always like to tell people this, and like I class myself as a networking queen now. However, when I first started networking, I was pretty rubbish at it, because I was a sales girl and I used to sell advertising space. And back in 2007, my boss said to me, I want you to go out networking for new business. And I said, networking, what's all that about? And he said, oh, you go to these business events, you swap your business cards and you sell to people. I'm like, oh, okay, I could do that. Not a problem. Yeah. And I grew up in the pub trade. I used to come down into my living room and it was a pub full of people. So I was always used to being surrounded by people. So I went to the events, and for about 2 or 3 months, if you can imagine this, I'd go into the room, and at the time I was Jenkins, and I'd say, hi, I'm Tracey Jenkins from Enterprise magazine. I sell advertising space. Do you think you'd be interested? It is quite a funny story now, and and people do laugh when I tell them, but that's how I started networking. And and guess what? Surprise, surprise, I didn't get any business for 3 months, and I was actually about to give up on it. And it was only the fact that I thought, well, when you're in business, if something's not working, you've got to go for advice, you've got to get help, you've got to get feedback, whether you like the truth or not, constructive criticism is good, and good feedback is good, so, it's a way of improving, isn't it? And I went to a couple of people who I, got along fine with. And I said, oh, this networking scene is a load of rubbish. I'm not getting any business. I said, or am I doing something wrong? Oh, was I so wrong about networking? And they said, yeah, it's about getting to know people, like people, and trust people. And you're not doing that. And I went, oh, am I doing something wrong? They went, yeah, massive. And I said, well, what am I doing? Because I was about to give up on it because I thought it was rubbish. And they said, well, you're coming into the room, giving it the hard sell. You go in for the kill straight away. And it's not about that. It's about building relationships first, and the business will follow. And I was like, oh, and I was cringing inside, But again, it's good to get feedback, because it's not working. You've got to find out. And it's a way of us growing, isn't it? Once people tell you if you're doing something wrong,
I absolutely love just your attitude around that, and the modeling that you're doing around that, because I think a lot of people, whilst they know that as a theoretical thing, actually you're just bringing the feeling into that. And all of us need to learn that lesson, right? And it's just that whole kind of grab it, go for it, fail forward, like they say, right?
Oh, God, yeah. And I think, with us, like with Introbiz, we've morphed not just into a networking company, we've morphed into a connections agency, really, because what we do as a business, yes, we put on the events, but behind the scene, we're like little rabbits under the in the warren, all busy underground, connecting people together, because when people join us, we don't just say, right, fill in the membership form like other networks I'm not going to mention, and they take you to a corner and they get you to sign up and they just take your money. Thank you very much. We don't do it that way, because we actually care about our clients. Yeah. So what we say to people is...
And you know your clients, because I know I've been in some of your clubhouse rooms, Tracey, and you've just gone, oh, well, you need to talk to so-and-so, because you remember, because you've got that connection. Yeah. You're automatically just matching people all the time, because you know and care about them.
Well, that's it, So, the most important thing is part of the Introbiz journey when anyone joins us is, yes, they fill in the membership form, and yes, we send them an invoice just like every other company. But we always have a one-to-one with our clients. And, some people might say, and I know in business, you've got to, earn as much money in the time given, within an hour. And I get all that. But for us, we like to think that, by us having that one-to-one with you for about an hour and a half, we get to know our members. We get to know what their needs are. We get to know who they want to connect with, because that's what we're there for, is to connect people together who they want to be connected with. So that's where we differ to a lot of other companies. We're not just a networking company. We are a connections agency, Well,
what came first, Tracey? The event or the networking? I can't remember which way round it worked.
So
yes,
obviously
the expo or the
event.
network.
So it was the event first, and then obviously to make our business, to create more income streams and more products within the business, we came up with, putting an expo on, and then obviously the expo brought sponsorship, after party tickets, breakfast networking sponsors, and tickets at the expo.
And I just want to highlight, because I know that I've had speakers speak at your expos over the years and stuff, but the thing that when we first met about 10 years ago, as I said, when I sat down with you, is that your speakers got billboards around the town, right? And like you could see, you actually paid, because this is your background, right, in advertisement space. But tell us a little bit about how the expo works differently, because you've had people like the Alan Sugars and blah 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 of the world. But tell us a little bit about the expo.
Yeah, well, what happened? We went to another expo back in 2012, and it wasn't very good. And I'm not gonna mention or name and shame, because I don't believe in doing that. But we went to an expo where there was not much footfall. There was lots of networking going on, but with exhibitor to exhibitor, because the footfall was rubbish.
Yeah.
And so I identified a gap, because what happens with a lot of expos, they'll put on a big event, right? They sell all these expo stands, but then they keep the money because they don't want to spend it. They want to make more profit. They want to keep the money for themselves to earn more profit. And we're in business to make money. I get that. That's what we're all there for. But you still got to invest in spending time and spending money on, advertising the show to get people through the door. Because the more people you get through the door, A, there's more opportunities for the exhibitors. B, you will retain more exhibitors for next year, so you make it far easier. And C, you make it bigger and better for the following year, because as year on year, you're going to grow because you're spending more money. And the more money, it's like they say you're supposed to spend 10% on whatever you turn over, spend 10% on marketing.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of people think, I don't want to spend the money. I'd rather have the more profit. But what they don't realize, the cost of marketing is the cost of acquisition of a client anyway, isn't it?
It is, but also it's the ease that you actually create for yourself, and it's the reputation that you build for yourself, which just makes it so much better. And it just becomes a no-brainer for someone to go, well, of course I'm going to go to that expo and exhibit next year because it was just amazing this year. That's just obvious, right?
Yeah, of course.
So with all of that kind of in place, obviously the last 2 years were a little bit different, sort of like things have been shaken up and, sort of different things have happened. So how have you and Introbiz kind of adapted to that? What effect did it have on you? What effect did it have on the audience? I'm sure there's a whole interplay in there. So
okay. I'm going to be really, really honest with you girls, because I'm a great believer of honesty and transparency. I always have been, always will be. Last year, I nearly lost the business. I lost 90% of my business because of COVID. Okay. And if only, and I think you learn a lot of things along the way, you learn every day about business. I'm always learning, I never, you never know everything, do you? And I think I was so gutted about was about 6 years prior to that it was about 5 years prior to COVID. I did an online webinar with a certain company. And again, I'm not going to name and shame. And I was in the middle of doing a networking webinar because I wanted to go down the line of online, and I'm not really tech savvy at all. And the system crashed in the middle of my webinar. And you know what? I only wish I'd gone back to it. I just thought, I was no good at that. I was useless, although it wasn't my fault. I didn't, I then put it to one side, never did the online. Okay. And if only I had done the online and embraced it, I would have been ready for COVID. But obviously 90% of your business, because bearing in mind, it was face-to-face events, face-to-face expos. I was told to liquidate and shut the company.
Oh, wow.
And yes, even at the beginning of this year, obviously all last year through COVID, but luckily for me, I put money by. I obviously put money into the business to invest in it, because I don't take the easy route. I'm not that type of person. I like to take the hard, challenging route. And yes, don't get me wrong, I have my moments where I think, oh my God, what am I doing? This is really, really tough. But I'm a great believer of this. If I can get through and trade through my business rather than go into liquidation, I've never been in major debt in my life. I've been in debt, obviously, with the business, but I've never been in major debt personally.
Yeah.
Yes, I know loads of super successful entrepreneurs have gone bust, Sir Richard Branson and all these other people, they've gone bust. But I didn't want to do it because I wanted to be able to prove to myself that I could get through it. I wanted to be able to learn my hard lessons. And I think when you're in a situation where it's in a tough situation, your mind becomes more creative. And I think through the adversity comes opportunities.
Yeah.
through adversity comes learning lessons that you can then pass on to other people. And for me, if I can get through that hard time, I want to be able in a couple of years' time, when I trade through this and get through it and not liquidate and get out of debt, okay, I'm going to stand up on stage and I'm going to say to people, this was my challenge in my business. This was how much debt I was in. But guess what I did? This is what I did to achieve, to get out of that debt and to get in another place. And that is why I want to be able to do, because as you know, girls, I know, Kelly, you've known me for many years. I love to speak. I love to inspire. I love to empower and educate. And if I can do that through my adversities and through my challenges, everyone knows, okay, Introbiz stands for two things, okay? Relationships and trust. If you don't have the relationships, you don't have the trust. If you don't have the trust, you don't have the relationships. And through my adversities and my stories and my empowering talks, hopefully people will see that Introbiz is all about trust. It is all about relationships, and it will make my brand stronger because of what I've been through and how I've done it and how I've told people. And that's what I want to do. And
there's so many people that are in the situation that you have been in and still are in, and they don't know that answer. So they need much more inspiration from people that have been there, got the t-shirt, and have, basically have got the solution now, rather than just, oh, well, this is bulletproofing it. Well, no, I'm too late for that. I'm in it. So it shows, I think, and we've seen this over probably the last 5 years, if nothing more, that business is all about the authenticity. Business is about the transparency. It's about the relationships, the connections. This whole survival, dog eat dog, let's get where we can get in and get out again. We just don't want that type of interaction, whether it's individual SMEs or corporate levels. They just want the people that really care. And I know from the interaction I've had with your company that you really, from whether you're a speaker on stage to a consumer and networking, you really care all the way through. And I think that really shines through. So
thank you. And I think if I was in it for the money, I would have gone longer.
Yeah, you do your passion, don't you? And you take whatever comes with it. But
I always do believe, this is another thing I always say, I do a lot of talks. I'm a Big Ideas Welsh role model for the Welsh government. And I don't do it very often anymore, but probably twice a year. Obviously, I haven't done it for a while because of COVID. But twice a year, I'll go into the schools and talk to the students. And, some of them will come up to me at the end, saying, I loved your talk, and others won't. And, you'll always get the 1% of entrepreneurs in the classroom, and they're the ones that come and talk to you. And they always say, some of them know what they want to do and they're quite determined. Others are not. And the ones who are not, they always say, I don't know what I want to do with my life. What would you suggest? And I always ask them this one question. What are you passionate about?
Yeah.
What would get you up out of bed every day? Because let me tell you, what I do, I love people. That is it for me. I grew up in the pub trade. I was an only child. My mother had a disc problem, and I always wanted to be surrounded by kids. My father used to pick my mother up from school, from work in the school holidays, because he used to do night shifts. And she'd always had a car full of kids, and she used to say, "Oh, I wish I had more than one child." She said, "Look, I got a car full now anyway." And I've always been a people's person. So what I do now, I could not imagine myself doing anything else. So it's like, why would I try and give up, or why would I liquidate when I want to try and get through it and do what I love? And I think if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. It's just your life becomes your lifestyle.
Of course, and all of the people that are in our place, our speakers, authors, and coaches that are doing stuff that is their passion, whether they found that because of adversity or however they found their voice and their message, they're now making that ripple effect because they're doing their purpose.
What they love.
Yeah. But Introbiz has adapted though, right? Because the networking stuff you now offer online as well as. So tell us about how people could access that.
How did you shift?
Yeah, so we literally shifted straight away. Because obviously as entrepreneurs and business owners, if you've got a situation in your business, you've got to flip straight away, haven't you? You've got to act, react, to the situation that you're in. So we literally, again, I wasn't tech savvy. Zoom was like, oh my God, what's all this about? I've been on Skype, before, but I thought, right, let's embrace this Zoom. Let's learn it, because we had no other choice. So when you're forced into a corner, you've got to do something about it. So we started doing our online events. We did a couple of online summits, which were good. We didn't make a huge amount of money, but again, it was having that presence. And for us, I think it was more important to serve the clients that we did have. By not liquidating, we still connected people in business together, because it was so important for us as a business and a brand to keep our community together, and because they needed our help. You know, they needed to be connected, and that's what we do. So we thought, well, we've just got to do that, you know, and just continue. So that's what we decided to do. We do the online, and we will always do online now. So that's the beauty of what's come out of COVID, is we will still do online. And obviously I do online networking training, etc., etc.
And did you have to, so with that in mind, did you have to kind of guide them along? Did it kind of shift over time? So, you know, because I think a lot of people were really shocked about this whole online thing. Does it work? Blah, 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 you know. So did you see a shift in how people in your audience as such, how they took to it?
Yeah, I mean, there was, you know, we lost probably, I would say 10% of our members didn't want to come online initially. And then it dropped to about 20-30%, would you believe? But then there was the ones that, you know, and like I've had people saying, oh, now you're doing the face-to-face events again, I'm going to rejoin Interbiz, because we lost members because they did not want to do online. Yeah. It was really bizarre. And I thought, crikey Moses. And I used to say to them, business is still getting done. It's just, you've just got a screen in between with you, not you know, not your physical world. It's the next best thing to the physical world, you know? Yeah. And like even now, you know, like, you know, because we've been on Zoom for so long, I know everyone's a bit zoomed out sometimes, but I sometimes would rather jump on a Zoom call than the phone, you know? So
I think it has become a choice. You know, it's become a choice, I think, for people. And, you know, we've talked in other lives around kind of introverts and extroverts in that way. And I think people have found their own groove, right?
Yeah. And, you know, everyone, you know, you attract what you are, I think, you know, and I think, you know, and that's so true. People who are attracted to you are the ones who are, you know, going to do business with you. And yeah, you know, it's good to create that community, you know, amongst everybody, because not everybody's for everyone, remember. And I say this in my networking seminars, you know, don't beat yourself up if you don't connect with somebody, or you're not going to get business from them, because not everybody will buy off me. Not everyone would buy off my daughter, etc., etc. You know, it's courses for courses, you know.
And so when people, I know that, you know, a lot of our members have started to go back and have stands and go to expos physically, as well as, even though a lot of them are now hybrid, which is another thing, because obviously that's great because you get the details to be able to network online before the expo, then at the expo if you physically attend, and then afterwards as well. So what I find, a lot of people make mistakes when they have stands or when they go to expos, and they go, oh, I've spent $5,000 on a stand and I didn't get anything back from it. So obviously you work with the stall holders a lot. Could you give advice to people who are either going to attend an expo or who are going to have a stand? How can people get the most ROI or value for their time when they do that?
Well, first of all, I mean, obviously you've got to prepare for the expo, and, you know, preparing for it is obviously getting all your graphics right, getting your branding and your marketing right, you know. But also another thing that people don't do when they go to an expo or when they're exhibiting, which is crazy and it's missed opportunities, they expect the expo company, obviously like myself, Introbiz, to just be the only marketeers in the business. So what we always say to people, if you are going to be exhibiting, whack an email out to your database. You know, let people know, because there's probably thousands of people on your database that you've not engaged with maybe for years, but invite them to the show and arrange a coffee with them. So rule number one, engage your audience to come to the expo, because you imagine if everybody did that at their expos that they go to, and you say there's 100 exhibitors, and all of a sudden you might get another 5,000 people that want to go to the show.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes it bigger and better for everybody concerned. So don't just think that the expo company is going to do the work. Do a little bit of work of it yourself, because, you know, it is going to potentially get more people, and you'll get your potential tribe of people who's on your database to come and talk to you. You just never know. You might end up, they might spend 50, 60, 100 grand with you. You just don't know. So
and most events have their own hashtag, don't they, for that event that year or whatever. So again, doing it on social and being part of those conversations, saying where your stand is, what number it is, and those types of things are, as well as the email, are making sure that you're being found when it's trending, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, if, you know, one thing that we're going to be promoting out to all the exhibitors now is do a live on your Facebook feed or on your Instagram or on TikTok, whatever your social media works for you, and just tell people you're going to be there, and just say, come and have a coffee with me, come and meet up with me. Who would like to come and meet up with me? Because again, it creates that ripple effect, you know. But also, if they start doing a live telling people, it might engage them to want to start talking about their business on another live, because you know, let's be honest, the more you get out there on a live and more visible you are, you're going to have more people engaged with you anyway. And, you know, more engagement, more potential, you know, closing of the sales, you know.
So have really strong branding so people recognize your stand, have not clear call to actions on that branding that's obviously there, right? So that people actually know if there's an offer or a fishbowl business card opportunity or whatever it might be, or you're collecting data or giving prizes, make sure that's all there. Make sure that you're promoting it as well as the actual exhibitors themselves. What else could people do to make sure they get that ROI?
The other thing that they should do is basically you should always have somebody working on your stand who is a great communicator, because oh my days, the amount of people that I've seen, not just at my expos, but other expos that I've been to, where is somebody who's really super shy, or maybe just somebody who's lazy that doesn't really want to talk, they want to sit on their chair, you know, or they've put a barrier up by sitting on a chair and they're reading a book or they're writing something. Okay, don't do that. Is have somebody who's a great communicator, but have things maybe on the stand. Like I know people have things like cupcakes. I've had magicians, you know, a game, or you know, like those little games, those little magnet things, you know, that
beeps, have to.
You know, or, you know, or I've seen go-karts where you've got, or a simulator, or have something that is going to attract people to your stand, that is going to engage people, because, you know, or just being sociable, you know, like another great one of my clients about 5 years ago had a casino table, and it was the best investment he did.
Nice.
Have a casino table, and he closed about 100 grand's worth of business. He was a printing company.
What was their business? Because obviously that was
printers.
Oh, printers!
Yeah, they were a printer, and they had a casino table, and everyone was going over there. They were playing on the casino. But guess what it does? It gets people talking to you. It gets people talking about your brand. The other thing, which is great, those photo frame, you know, like the frames, the cardboard frames with your brand around it. Get loads of silly faces done, and put them out on social.
That's genius.
Because you know, like we all talk about social media. I had this conversation the other day with one of my old clients who's going to potentially come back to Introbiz and exhibit. They're a marketing agency, Rodri Williams. And we were chatting, and he was saying, do you know what? He said, how's your social media going? I said, oh, it's okay. You know, could be better, you know, as all of us. I said, but, you know, we're quite strong out there on social media. You know, we are very visible. But I said, we could, you know, get a better, you know, ROI. And he said, well, you know, how much social are you doing? And I went, well, you know, so many posts a day. And he went, no, I don't mean that. He said, what messaging are you doing? And I told him, and he said, maybe do a little bit more social on social media. And I went, okay. And he said, a lot of people out there at the moment, and I'm only sharing this with you because for those of you who are out there who are doing loads of social media posts, and I know there's a lot of people that will promote on social. I'm like, no, you know, I like to give value by giving education. Right. I like to shout out about my clients. That's another one that I always like to do is, you know, it's not, you know, my business is never about me. It's about what I can do for my clients. So I promote my clients out on social. But the other thing is talking about stuff that might not be anything to do with your business.
Yeah.
Guess what it does is it gets people engaged talking about your brand or getting you talking. Like I put up a post yesterday in Inspirational Women in the World, my other business, iWow. And in my main Facebook page, I don't know whether you saw it, Cal, and it was, what was your favourite sweets many years ago when you were a little girl? Right?
All the memorabilia, all the old stuff.
Right. But guess what? It's just getting people talking, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, tell me a little bit about your business, you know, and then I might say something else, and then, you know.
It's really funny because that post came and coincided with my sister, who lives in Denmark, sending me can you bring some strawberries and cream with you, like the little sweetie? So I was like, oh yeah, that actually works. And this morning, same, you know, this morning I did actually we're going to have the Christmas weekend. I'm allowed to use that word, Kelly. I'm allowed to use that.
It's not December yet. You can't say the C word.
Yeah, okay. But I actually did a post this morning, which is just doing amazing things. And it's a genuine ask. I'm like, what are the Christmas movies that I need to plan in over the next little while to put me in the spirit of things, right? Yeah. And like, it just goes like, it's exactly what you say. It's relationship building more than anything.
And remember this, you know, like how often would you go down the pub, or if you go to a golfing event or you go to a party, would you go up to somebody in the pub and say, "Oh, hi"? Well, I know I did years ago at the networking. We'll ignore that bit, but when would you? Once I know what to do. So for those newbies out there who are networking, you wouldn't go into a pub and say, "Hi, I'm Tracey Smolinski. I run a networking company. Do you want to buy off me?" That doesn't happen, does it? No. So think of social media when you're doing expos, you're promoting your brand, you want to build relationships with people as social first, because eventually the business will follow, but it will get people talking about your brand. I mean, you think, when you think the Coca-Cola advert at Christmas, the John Lewis advert.
You're waiting for them, aren't they? They just are.
And people buy off people that they align and resonate with their brand. And if somebody resonates with you in one level of a topic of discussion, they may want to buy off you for something else, So
I think all these things are, again, what Introbiz stands for, which is about relationships, connection, and trust. These are all elements of how to implement that. And I think, but also one of the things that we were definitely talking to one of our members about this in a B2B clinic a few months back, that when you are exhibiting at a show or an expo, that knowing your marketing process, knowing your conversions, knowing your lead generation, because I think most people go, "Oh, I'm going to go to an expo and I'm going to sell at the expo. No. And if I sell 2 of these, I'm going to cover my salary." And we're like, okay, so the reason to exhibit as an expo predominantly is lead generation.
It's visibility.
So how are you capturing leads at the stand? And then, more importantly, how are you following up? Do you know the conversion ratios averagely from your discovery calls, from your whatever else it is? And then you can actually budget and go, well, we know that if we get 100 people in, we'll convert 30 of them onto this program. That gives me my money back to the expo and this amount of profit. And it makes sense. Yeah. People that go to an expo with no lead gen there, no understanding, and they think they're just going to sell a product. That's something I think people get stung a lot of the time, and they go expos
and they don't follow up. Again, another thing, so many people over the years have said, and this is why we do a pre-biz expo seminar to educate the exhibitors to do it properly. And one of the things we always say is you've got to follow up. Again, the amount of companies that don't follow up, they'll go, "Well, did you follow?" They say, "Oh, it didn't work for me." And then I say, "Well, did you do the follow-up process?" And they went, "No, I haven't had time. All my business cards are on my desk or in my drawer." And I went, "Well, no wonder. You've got to have a process to follow up."
Yeah, and so much of the time people don't actually, they budget on the day and they think that's the end of it, rather than budgeting on the 6 days afterwards where you do schedule in the calls or whatever it is. And even having that list there on the day that goes, "Listen, for the next 6 days, we're going to be following up with people actively," and just getting them to sign up then and there. Yes, please. It just makes sense.
I know we've got to move on because I know we've got 20 minutes or so left. But if anyone has got any questions for Tracey, whether you're watching this on the live or whether you're watching this on the replay, we can always tag in the comments about if you're thinking about exhibiting, if you want to exhibit with their event in March that's coming up. We've put the Introbiz links in as well, so you can check that out. But do ask questions as we go through.
Yeah, I'll pop the link in for the March one in a second. Switching tack a little bit and still kind of like pulling on the goodness that you have, and it's probably related to what went on kind of in the last 18 months. You're obviously brilliant at networking now.
Well, I'd like to think I am now.
but based on your experience, you've obviously you've taken some of that experience, even as you just sort of said, you have the little seminars for the people who are exhibiting. But what other opportunities have Introbiz kind of created around this? And can you give us your top tidbits around networking? I know you've always you already dropped some in, but we're always going to pull more from you.
Yeah, of course. There is one more strategy that I want to give people for the expo before I forget.
Yes, please.
Okay, is when you get your business cards and you're talking to somebody, always grade them A, B, or C, or 1, 2, 3, for instance. Or green light them, you make them a green, amber, and red. And obviously, the 1, 2, 3 is number 1 is the hottest leads. So just put a number 1 on. If it's a really hot lead where someone's nearly on the cusp of buy-in, they want an appointment with you, you're gonna jump on a discovery call. They're really keen. Class it as a 1 or a green. Okay. If it's somebody that is maybe interested, but in a couple of weeks' time, so it's a little bit more time constrained. put it as a number 2 or a B. Okay. And if it's just somebody that wants to be added to a database and you may need to ring them in 3 or 4 months' time, obviously ring them in 3 or 4 months' time. But, always grade them, because them, like say you come back with 100 leads and there's only one of you working on it. You think, which ones am I going to go through? So you can prioritize your leads, which ones are going to, you're going to get you money quicker than obviously plowing through them all and maybe a hot lead at the bottom.
I know when Helena and I've done it, we also write a little note. So if they had a plaster cast on when you saw them, you put that and you'd ask in the follow-up.
Absolutely.
Your arm got better, and make it really personal. Or you knew that something was going on. They were going on holiday to Spain that week. How was your holiday in Spain?
And
I always do that.
And don't expect yourself to remember, because you won't, because it's just a mush.
That's why you have to write it down. It's like, every time I do a follow-up, and if someone says ring me in 2 weeks when I'm back from Hong Kong or whatever, I'll put a thing and say been to Hong Kong. And then when I ring them, how was your trip in Hong Kong? Was it good? And in fact, when I was saying about social, make it social more on social media, whenever I go on a business appointment, I never, ever talk business first. I always talk about other stuff first and build rapport. That's another tip I give when you're networking or even going on a sales call or an appointment. Always build the rapport first. It could be you're talking about the rugby. It could be talking about the weather. It could be about what did you do on the weekend? Where are you going on holiday? I'm going out for dinner tonight to a Chinese restaurant. Do you like Chinese? No, I prefer Indian. Oh, yeah, So, if you talk about social stuff first, again, and how many times have I been on an appointment where I've talked social first and then I talk business, and it's literally business is 5 minutes. Yeah, I'll do it. How much, and I'll say, right, there you go.
Love it. So when people do networking, because I know we've promoted apps like Remo and things like that where people are doing the virtual networking. And what is the best, because I know you've done speed stuff. How would people come across the best when they're networking and get the most from it?
Well, I think, start off being human, being real, being authentic and transparent. Again, I don't do bull. I don't do, exaggeration or anything like that. Just be yourself. That's probably the biggest tip I can give you, is be yourself. Never judge a book by its cover, because you never know who you're talking to. Me, because when I first set up Introbiz, I remember, I knew some really, really amazing entrepreneurs with big companies. They weren't members of my network, but I knew them. They were good friends of mine. They weren't necessarily coming to Introbiz, but people would come into Introbiz and they'd say, oh, I'm not joining your network because you're all small businesses. Well, hang on a minute. If you want to get into the bigger businesses, build a relationship with me, because do I know some? Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people make that mistake. They prejudge. They prejudge. And when I do a lot of talks, I always talk about, remember Pretty Woman. Guess what happens? She's dressed up in her thigh-high boots. She goes into the fashion shop, the fashion house, and all those snobs, the sales assistants, look her up and down, and they prejudge her because they think she can't afford the clothes. What happens? She goes in a few weeks later with a rich boyfriend and says, big mistake, huge. She got a big load of shopping from their competitors next door and walks out. And they're all going, So never prejudge anyone. And what I always say is look beyond their eyes, because you don't know who you're talking to. I remember doing a talk in Dublin 4 years ago, and I know, Cal, I'm a massive believer of the law of attraction, because I talk about it a lot. And I think if there's something that you want in your life, go out there and make it happen. Okay, never prejudge anyone, and always be kind to people, because you never know who you're talking to. And if you want something, talk about it publicly, because that's what I do. I will announce things and say, I am going to do this, and I don't know when and I don't know how, but I'm going to go to Necker Island. I'm going to meet Sir Richard Branson. And that's exactly what I did in 2019, So if there's something that you want, always talk to people and ask people.
You just never know.
Put it out there into the universe, because when I did my talk in Dublin, that's exactly what I said about Richard Branson and going to Necker Island, that I wanted to do it, and I didn't know when and I didn't know how. And as I came off the stage, one of my members now, and he's a client of mine, Brian, came over to me and said, I know someone that's been to Necker. Do you want me to introduce you? Introduced me to them. They introduced me to the Necker Cup crew. The rest is history. I ended up going to Necker.
Beautiful.
But you've got to put it out there. You've got to share with the world. If there's something that you want, put it out there. If you've got a challenge in your business, if you've got a problem, be honest with people and be transparent and say, this is my issue. Because so many people out there will talk a load of bull and they pretend that they're millionaires or they're this or they're that. Just be real.
And people see through it.
Yeah.
And isn't it great at networking, where a lot of people go to networking a bit like what you were like in sales, where they just think that a networking means I'm going to sit down with this person, I'm going to tell them who they are and what they do, and that's it. Actually, I found as networking is best when you come with a question or a problem.
For sure.
And rather than actually telling them what you do, you go, do you know what? I just can't get traffic to my website. And I don't.
Opinions. Opinions is what I like to be asked for. Is can you help me? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sebastian's just saying the show-off entrepreneurs are annoying.
Horrible.
Say.
Well, as I say, you know, like these show-off entrepreneurs with the big egos, you've got to get rid of that ego off your blooming shoulders, you know, because, you know, we've all been through hard times. We all go through good times, you know, and it could be any one of us that could be up there 1 minute and down there the next. And that's what entrepreneurship is a journey, isn't it?
But,
you know,
but the best thing about doing that anyway is around the whole, you never know who you're going to get at networking, and it will be a slightly different perspective from the industry that you normally hang out with, the people that you normally hang out with. So actually bringing your issue, problem, or aspiration, intention kind of to that, and actually using that as your opener is such a good way to get a different perspective that you just go, I would never have thought about that.
And, you know, when if I have a Zoom call with someone, you know, say someone wants a one-to-one with me or I want a one-to-one with them, you know, whenever I jump on the call, I always say, right, how can I help you today?
That's it.
That's one of the first things that I always say is, you know, or when I go to a networking event, you know, they'll say, oh, hi, I'm Ben. And I'll say, oh, hi, I'm Tracey. I'm from Introbiz. Tell me a little bit about yourself. That's one of the first things you can say to them, because a lot of people don't know how to start a conversation. They're not sure what to do, especially introverts, you know. They don't like walking into a room to start with, you know, with all eyeballs looking at them, you know. And so I always say, you know, if those of you who are listening, you know, those of you who are listening, maybe who are an introverted or you're a little bit shy and you're not sure what to say when you engage in conversation, just say, tell me a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do? You know, everyone likes to talk about themselves. And it's like you ask me, what do I do? I'm talking passionately about what I do because I love what I do. So when you ask somebody that question, tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do. That's when the passion starts to come and you find out all this information and then the conversation will flow, you know.
And what about the people, because I know that we've got a lot of speakers that are in the hub and they're always looking for opportunities. And I know that, you know, this is your chance to blow your own whistle, Tracey, with some of the people that you've had on your main keynote stage over the years, because you've had some real big hitters. But you also have the actual breakout stages as well, where you have other business owners like most expos do. What makes you decide who to choose for both keynote sessions and breakout sessions with speakers? What do you look for as a speaker booker for an expo, just to give some of our people advice on what criteria you look for?
Well, it's a couple of things, really. I mean, obviously, it depends on their profile. That's number one, because obviously, you know, we do want people to be able to promote, and we like to leverage other people's names. Of course, you know, people like, you know, obviously, as you know, we've had Lord Sugar, we've had Grant Cardone, I've had Sharon Lecter, you know, Baroness Michelle Mone, Hilary DeVay from Dragon's Den, you know, to name but a few, you know. So obviously we like to pull the big speakers in to leverage their name. So we've got those, and obviously depending on their profile. But the other thing as well is about what message are you going to give? You know, what difference are you going to make to my audience? Are you going to give value to my audience? And are you going to promote my expo? Because let's be honest, you know, people, I would be a millionaire right now if I had so many people say, for every pound someone said, I want to be a speaker on your platform, right? But
for sure.
But at the end of the day, what are you going to do for me? You know, and I've helped so many people in the past. You know, I've raised their profiles. I've given them so much value. I mean, I've had speakers that have said, oh, I'm going to come on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to promote your thing. And they don't do diddly squat, you know? So it's like, are you going to be proactive for me? Because it's not just about you. Yes, I want to help other people. Yes, I want to raise other people's profiles. But there's got to be in it something for the organizer as well, you know? And whether if it's a free one, you know, where people don't pay to speak, what are you going to do for me? You know, but obviously if they're paying me to speak, you know, and we do a lot of seminars and we do charge for those, you know, we do a seminar bundle, which is a 3x2 stand, a seminar slot for 45 minutes, but we're proactively promoting those seminars and we put it on Eventbrite and they get all the data for that, and it goes. We have an advert in our Expo magazine, so of course we charge for that, you know. And we do a non-members bundle, and then we do a membership bundle as well. So we make it cheaper, you know, so they can buy a bundle, but then they get a membership included, you know, and that's a bit more expensive for non-members. So
I think even Introbiz does this, but I think this is something that most people, especially if it's a stage like an expo or a trade show, where it isn't a closed off corporate AGM, where obviously you wouldn't need to do any promotion if you were speaking at that, is that it's a win-win-win. And so when people just lead with their content, oh, I'm the expert in blah, 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 and you need me at your show, that's great because that's positioning and profile and showing the message you're giving. But it's also like, and if you were this influential person, then you have your own network that you've been influential over. So you're saying, I'm going to bring my crowd of 5,000 people to the event with me.
Yeah.
Because there's more than me that's there that they need to hear from. I'm the expert in this space. But people don't lead. When they're phoning expos or event bookers, they don't ask them the same question we just said about networking. How can a speaker help you? So if somebody phoned you, Tracey, and said, I'd love to speak at your event, but hey, first of all, what does the event need? Now we've pivoted in this. What's the thing? Can I suggest other speakers? Do you need AV support? Do you need whatever it might be, and just be helpful?
But you know, it's being a promoter for the expo as well, because a lot of people are just all about themselves, and it's like, well, if I was exhibiting somewhere or I was speaking somewhere, I'm going to tell people about it, you know.
And it's really interesting because, you know, sort of like you may in your business model not necessarily kind of want to go large in terms of, you know, sort of the numbers of people that you've got. But if you are factoring in something like speaking, that gives you a different element of it that actually makes someone like Tracey look at you and go, oh, I get what impact you might bring to this expo, or what you can actually kind of add to it in this way. I do just want to honor Sebastian, and he's saying this is three queens of kind networking show. So this is what he's dubbing this, and I think we should just rename the whole thing, and that's just how it goes. Thanks, Sebastian. They're wonderful.
Thank you, Sebastian.
And I know that we're coming up.
We're coming. Yeah. So, you know, sort of what's the best way? I mean, I think a lot of people are probably getting an appetite for this. We have definitely popped the link into the show in March that we've got, but you can also access the course from you. What's the best way? How do you like people to get in touch with you?
They can either, I've got a mobile 07581 564 371. I love talking, so I love being on the phone. I love via Zoom as well. You can reach out to me on info@introbiz.co.uk. So yeah, get in touch. Or if you want to connect with me on Facebook and send me a message, I'm contactable in many ways. So yeah.
Beautiful. And tell us about the course, because I know that a lot of people, you know, whether you're expoing, whether you're at networking, it's all down to this basic trust and communication and connection bit. So, and I know that you do have your networker program. Tell us a little bit about that. We've just put the
so I've got a 5-week course that I sell for $297. Basically, we do a whole hour on pitching. So I do 5 hours worth. It's once a week for 5 weeks. It's all done online, and we talk about pitching, how to pitch, and I can talk for hours about pitching because so many people get it wrong and they just think that it's like they're just going to come in and chat, but it's a lot more to it than that. So we talk about that. We talk about how to get into a conversation and how to get out of a conversation, because that's just as
yes.
We talk about overcoming objections. We talk about the follow-up, you know, the whole process, because business is a process and so is networking. So you've got to have the right process in place. There's no point in going to a networking event if you're not going to get your processes right. So we talk about the art of processes when you go to a networking from start to finish, and how you're going to potentially close business. So it's a 5-week course. I absolutely love what I do, and I do it all. There is a bit of homework involved on a weekly basis because it's quite interactive, but that's basically, you know, because if you don't get your message right, we get to talk about how to understand your target audience, because again, that's another thing. People go randomly to an event and they don't know what their messaging is. They don't know who they want to talk to. So you've got to get your strategy right of who you do want to talk to, you know. So I talk about that as well. So yeah, it's a 5-week course.
It's amazing. We are just very, very, very grateful. And I suspect we could talk to you for another hour and you'd just kind of like tell everybody even more wonderful things. But we're just so grateful that we've done the third time lucky, because, you know, sort of like that's just how it actually works. Because, yeah. Sharing your wisdom with the audience is amazing. So thank you for being part of this.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really humbled and honoured that you've invited me on as your speaker for expos and trade shows. Yeah, so
we love it. And we know that many of our people, I'm sure, will be visiting you in March and connecting with you beforehand and hopefully checking out your course as well. So that's yours another hour, but we have to go, right?
We have to go.
I know
you have to
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Definitely connect with Tracey and her networks. She's every time I'm online, Tracey's online. I just don't know how you always are there in some way or another, but she's always about. So she's definitely connect with her, and we really thank you, Tracey. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, girls. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye, everyone.